This is Optimal Health Daily, episode 258. Yet another reason you could be wasting your time with long, slow, fat-burning aerobic workouts by Ben Greenfield of bengreenfieldfitness.com. And I'm your host and narrator, Dr. Neil. Hey, it's Wednesday already. Welcome back to Optimal Health Daily, where I read some of the best health and fitness blogs to you, sometimes with a little bit of commentary. Now, don't forget, I answer your questions every Friday. You can send one in at oldpodcast.com. If you do, you make me really happy because I love hearing and answering your questions. Plus, you'll be entered into small special raffles to win books from us. Speaking of, today's article goes really well with the Q&A I did back in episode 250 on high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. We're going to hear a lot more about that in today's post from Ben. So, let's get right into it and continue optimizing your life. Yet another reason you could be wasting your time with long, slow, fat-burning aerobic workouts by Ben Greenfield of bengreenfieldfitness.com. You may have read a post from a few weeks ago about why you could be wasting your time with long, slow, fat-burning workouts. There's more news today. Check out this excerpt from the Science Daily. Quote, "The usual excuse of lack of time for not doing enough exercise is blown away by new research published in the Journal of Physiology. The study from scientists at Canada's McMaster University adds to the growing evidence for the benefits of short-term, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, as a time-efficient but safe alternative to traditional types of moderate long-term exercise. Astonishingly, it is possible to get more by doing less. We have shown that interval training does not have to be all out in order to be effective," says Professor Martin Gabala. "Doing 10 one-minute sprints on a standard stationary bike with about 1 minute of rest in between 3 times a week works as well in improving muscle as many hours of conventional long-term biking less strenuously. HIIT means doing a number of short bursts of intense exercise with short recovery breaks in between. The authors have already shown with young, healthy college students that this produces the same physical benefits as conventional long-duration endurance training, despite taking much less time, and amazingly, actually doing less exercise. However, the previous work used a relatively extreme setup that involved all-out pedaling on a specialized laboratory bicycle. The new study used a standard stationary bicycle and a workload which was still above most people's comfort zone, about 95% of maximal heart rate, but only about half of what can be achieved when people sprint at an all-out pace. This less extreme HIIT method may work well for people whose doctors might have worries about them exercising all out, like older, less fit, and slightly overweight folks. We have known for years that repeated moderate long-term exercise tunes up fuel and oxygen delivery to muscles and aids the removal of waste products. Exercise also improves the way the muscles use oxygen to burn the fuel in mitochondria, the microscopic power station of cells. Running or cycling for hours a week widens the network of vessels supplying muscle cells and also boosts the numbers of mitochondria in them so that a person can carry out activities of daily living more effectively and without strain, and crucially with less risk of a heart attack, stroke, or diabetes. But the traditional approach to exercise is time-consuming. Martin Gabala and his team have shown that the same results can be obtained in far less time with brief spurts of higher intensity exercise. To achieve the study's equivalent results by endurance training, you'd need to complete over 10 hours of continuous moderate bicycling exercise over a 2-week period. The secret to why HIIT is so effective is unclear. However, the study by Gabala and his colleagues also provides insight into the molecular signals that regulate muscle adaptation to interval training. It appears that HIIT stimulates many of the same cellular pathways that are responsible for the beneficial effects we associate with endurance training. The upside of doing more exercise is well known, but a big question for most people thinking of getting fit is, how much time out of my busy life do I need to spend to get the perks? Martin Gabala says, no time to exercise is not an excuse now that HIIT can be tailored for the average adult. Gabala adds, quote, "While still a demanding form of training, the exercise protocol we used should be possible to do by the general public, and you don't need more than an average exercise bike." End quote. The McMaster team's future research will examine whether HIIT can bring health benefits to people who are overweight or who have metabolic diseases like diabetes. As the evidence for HIIT continues to grow, a new frontier in the fitness field emerges, end quote. Folks, as a fitness, triathlon, and fat loss consultant, I finally started seeing big results in my clients and athletes when I began incorporating a high amount of HIIT in their programs. It's the entire philosophy I utilized to design the fat-burning book, Shape 21, the Lean Body Manual. It is also the same philosophy I used to design the Triathlon Dominator, a complete plan for succeeding at Ironman and half Ironman triathlons with half of the normal training time. That's not all. It is the same philosophy I used to design every beginner, intermediate, and advanced sprint, Olympic, half Ironman, and Ironman triathlon plans at the Rockstar Triathlete Academy, and is the focus of many of our coach Q&A calls and forum discussions. As I've said before, long, slow, aerobic fat-burning workouts certainly have a time and place. For example, one such time and place is in the morning for anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes when you need an extra fat-burning boost, if you can still find the time to do intervals and metabolic resistance training later in the day. Another use of such workouts would be to train your body for a competition and gain the mental and physical tolerance to sit in a bicycle saddle for 5 to 8 hours, or to stay on your feet during a marathon for 2.5 to 5 hours. But don't fool yourself into thinking that you're getting significantly fitter during these long sessions, especially when compared to fast interval training, and only rely on these long sessions as part of an endurance training program that includes intervals, or as part of a fat loss program if you can still find the time to do intervals. You just listened to the post titled, Yet Another Reason You Could Be Wasting Your Time with Long, Slow, Fat-Burning Aerobic Workouts by Ben Greenfield of bengreenfieldfitness.com. I mentioned this before in episode 250 when I did the Q&A on high-intensity interval training. For the longest time, we used to think that this type of training was not safe for most people. But now we're learning, as Ben mentioned in his article, that this actually may be safe for pretty much everyone, even those with a history of cardiovascular disease or diabetes. Ben mentioned that we need a little bit more research to determine whether high-intensity interval training is helpful for those with metabolic disease, like diabetes. And he's right, but when I look at the preliminary research, we are finding that it may even help those with diabetes. It may help their bodies become more sensitive to insulin, which is what we would want. With diabetes, and I'll talk more about this on this week's Q&A show, we're learning that the body does not respond well to insulin. So we want the body to become more sensitive to insulin. That's a good thing. And with high-intensity interval training, that seems to happen. Now, as always, my disclaimer. Before you jump right in and start using HIIT training, be sure you check with your doctor first. But if he or she clears you, give it a shot. When I incorporate HIIT training, I'm in and out of the gym in like 20 minutes, and I am wiped. But don't get me wrong. I, of course, do include those longer, slower workouts too, and those are great for recovery days. For example, a long walk with my wife at the beach is a great thing to do for me on my recovery day. It clears my mind, and it's still using the large muscle groups. Now, before I go, I want to remind you that I answer your questions right here on the podcast every Friday in special Q&A episodes. You can ask me anything related to diet and nutrition, stress management, exercise, and lots more. Just call and leave a message with your question. The phone number is 61 I love OHD. Or you can also send in an audio question through our site, oldpodcast.com. That's more friendly if you want to do multiple takes and hear yourself before sending it in. And by the way, if you send in a question, you make me super happy because that's one of my favorite parts of the show. And as a bonus, you're entered into special raffles to win books every month from us. That does it for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you on tomorrow's show with a post from Nerd Fitness and where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.